Somehow, Gina Carano returned. If you don't remember Gina Carano, she played Cara Dune in The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, and she did not play Cara Dune in The Mandalorian season 3. Disney fired her because she was saying some controversial things on the internet. I remember the most controversial thing she did was when she compared being a conservative in the United States to being a Jew during the Holocaust. I don't know why you would do that, why you would ever think that would be a good thing to do. And then I remember at some point somebody asked her what her preferred pronouns were, and I think she responded with like beep boop. You know, just being a controversial figure, which honestly, in my honest, humble opinion, I don't really care. The Holocaust comparison is beyond stupid, but and just like something you obviously shouldn't do. But did I want to see her fired from the Mandalorian? Not really, because I actually really liked her character and I thought she was really good in it. I mean, it was really the first role where I feel like she did a good job as an actor. I also really liked her in Deadpool and the Fast and the Furious movie that she was in, but she was mainly just there because, of course, before acting, she was actually in the UFC, so she was very believable whenever she would do an action scene. But I can also understand that she was kind of starting to become like a conservative political figure in a sense, and like I could understand Disney being like, we don't want anything to do with this. Like, we don't want anything to do with your controversy. And so she was fired from The Mandalorian, and she hasn't really done anything of consequence since then. I know she did some, like, Daily Wire movie, but literally nobody saw or talked about it. And so now, a few years later, she is suing Disney. And you might be asking yourself, that sounds like an expensive proposition. Is Gina Carano really in a financial place to be able to be levying a lawsuit towards one of the biggest corporations in the world? Well, she's not doing it herself. Well, worry not, because one man has stepped up to help Gina in her battle for free speech. Elon Musk himself is funding the lawsuit. And I have to say, I think we got to give a big old W to Elon Musk for being the number one simp. Did you know that when the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial was going down, Elon Musk threatened to sue Warner Brothers if they took her out of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Now, there is a public court document that The Hollywood Reporter posted. It's 59 pages, and I'm not going to lie to you, I did not read all of it because, quite frankly, I don't care about this that much. But there are some interesting parts about it that I did see that I would like to share with you all because, good Lord, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm very confused, and I need to share this with somebody. Here we have the complaint. Plaintiff Gina Carano, through undersigned counsel, files this complaint for damages and equitable relief against defendants, Disney, Lucasfilm, and Huckleberry Industries. Then we get into the introduction. A short time ago, in a galaxy not so far away, defendants made it clear that only one orthodoxy in thought, speech, or action was acceptable in their empire, and that those who dared to question or failed to fully comply would not be tolerated. And so it was with Carano. After 2 highly acclaimed seasons on The Mandalorian as Rebel Ranger Cara Dune, Carano was terminated from her role as swiftly as her character's peaceful home planet of Alderaan had been destroyed by the Death Star in an earlier Star Wars film. And all this because she dared voice her own opinions on social media platforms and elsewhere, and stood up to the online bully mob who demanded her compliance with their extreme, progressive ideology. Okay, to be clear, I'm not a lawyer. I know you may have thought that because of my very professional demeanor, but I'm not a lawyer. I've never sued anybody. I've never been sued. So maybe I just don't know how these things works, because in truth, I definitely don't know how they work. Is it normal to practice your prose when you're making these kind of court documents? Like, is it normal for a lawyer to be like, in one of these documents, Your Honor, the defendant was like Flash Thompson in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, who assaulted my client, who is a lot like Peter Parker. Like, what is happening? How is this real? What am I reading? Defendants' wrath over their employees' social media posts also differed depending on sex. Even though the force is female, defendants chose to target a woman while looking the other way when it came to men. While Carano was fired, defendants took no action against male actors who took equally or more vigorous and controversial positions on social media. But the rule of law still reigns over the defendant's empire, and Carano has returned to demand that they be held accountable for their bullying, discriminatory, and retaliatory actions that inflicted not only substantial emotional harm, but millions of dollars in lost income. So she's making some very bold claims, right? She's saying that they unjustly came after her, but because other men also were controversial online, Disney is sexist because they did nothing to stop them. And she also provided some examples, so let's take a look at those. So in the document, she throws Pedro Pascal under the bus. She shows an Instagram post that Pedro made comparing, President Donald Trump to Hitler. And then she also posted a tweet where Pedro did an admittedly very similar thing. Although, if we're being completely honest, at least a little more comparable, but a similar thing to what Gina did, where he compared the Mexican kids in cages at the border to, the Jews in concentration camps in Germany. Still pretty unhinged, but at least you can kind of, reasonably understand why somebody would post this, but still pretty unhinged. So, this is what I think. I think that it's pretty undeniable that Disney as a corporation leans left. I think you can see it in the content that they produce, that they are at the moment expressing progressive values. That being said, at the end of the day, I do think that they are consistent in not wanting controversy. The interesting thing about Pedro Pascal is that I actually remember that post comparing the Mexican kids in cages at the border to concentration camps during the Holocaust. And that was a very controversial post. Undeniably it was. And it caused a lot of uproar. There were a lot of people talking about it. And you want to know something interesting after that? Once he did a post that actually got a lot of attention on it, there was a lot of controversy around it, he stopped being as controversial. I'm not saying he's never posted anything political since then. I'm sure he has. But he stopped being a figure that people are always arguing about. Now, obviously, I'm not in the boardrooms at Disney. I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet that Disney pulled him in and he was like, "Hey, Pedro, you mind maybe not comparing things to the Holocaust on Twitter? That's just an unnecessary comparison to make. Do you mind just not being as controversial? We're just trying to make Star Wars movies here. What's your problem?" And at that point, Pedro had to make a decision, right? He had to decide, do I care about being as spicy on the internet as possible? Or do I care about being as inflammatory as possible? Or do I want to keep my job as a public figure playing the Mandalorian? Clearly, Pedro chose the Mandalorian. I think another good example recently is Rachel Zegler. In a much lower stakes situation, she said what she said about Snow White, where, I believe she said that she doesn't like the Snow White movies and that, they don't age very well because the prince kisses her without her consent or something like that. And that caused a lot of controversy. People got really triggered when she said that, and they tried to cancel her. And, I'm sure Disney pulled her in and they were like, "Hey, Rachel, you mind maybe not shit-talking the movie that we're remaking with you? You might not shit-talking one of, the classic films in the Disney Princess library. And again, maybe I just haven't heard anything, but people have seemingly stopped bringing up controversies surrounding her. My guess is that she went through like rigorous PR training sessions and now she has things that she very much cannot say. And listen, do I care that Pedro Pascal compared little Mexican kids in cages to the Holocaust? I don't think it's a good comparison, but it's like, I don't care. I don't think that he should be fired. Do I care that Rachel Zegler is calling the Snow White movie problematic? I mean, to be honest, I actually could not care less about that. But obviously, yeah, I don't care. I don't think that she should be fired from the Snow White movie. She's just an actor in the movie. It literally doesn't matter if she likes the original Snow White or not. It's up to the director to make the movie. And do I care about what Gina said? Well, I said earlier in the video, no, I personally don't think that she should be fired. But at the end of the day, I think it's perfectly reasonable for Disney to be like, hey, you are a public figure representing our company and representing the franchises that you're in. We don't want you to say all this controversial stuff. It's just not something that we want to deal with. And at that point, it's up to the actor to make a decision. They can stand by their convictions and compare themselves to Jews during the Holocaust. That's apparently Gina Carano's conviction. But she's free to do that. And Disney is also free to not want to work with her anymore. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that that's illegal. And I get that because that's how entertainment has literally always worked. You know, athletes have things that they can and cannot say. Actors have things that they can or cannot say. And, you know, we can agree or disagree with the way the system works, but I just don't think it has anything to do with the law, especially when we look at what she's demanding. Like, when we look here, it says preliminary and permanent injunctive relief requiring defendants to reinstate Carano to her prior position with no loss of pay? Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's like precedence for this or whatever. Can a court force Disney to use Cara Dune in the show? Because it's not even like she was like recast or something weird like that. They just haven't been using the character anymore. Like, can they force Jon Favreau to write Cara Dune into The Mandalorian and Grogu? Is that a thing that like the government can even do to a private corporation? I don't know. So listen, at the end of the day, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything about the law. Maybe I'm completely wrong on all of this. Maybe they do have grounds to go after Disney legally. And hey, if they meet them in court and they end up winning and somehow we see Cara Dune pop up in The Mandalorian and Grogu, whenever that comes out, I'll eat my words, but I don't think that anything is going to come from this. I mean, I think that Disney, you know, especially, like, I have to imagine it's written in their contracts that Disney can fire you for, like, PR reasons and whatnot. I have to imagine that they can do that because entertainment companies have been doing that since the dawn of time. And the idea that she's going to get money because of it, I don't think that's going to happen. The idea that they can force Disney into writing Cara Dune back into Star Wars, I just don't even know how that would even work. Are they going to have to send the script to a judge? like again, I don't know how that would even work. So the idea of her getting rehired is weird to me. So I don't know. But like I said before, just to reiterate one more time, I am an idiot. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.